What's the best date in July for Nats Chat to hold our next hangout at Walters? Email us at natschatpodcast@gmail.com. Walters is the official Nats Chat bar and is located across the street from the ballpark.
A massage chair might seem a bit extravagant, especially these days. 8 different settings, adjustable intensity, plus it's heated, and it just feels so good. Yes, a massage chair might seem a bit extravagant, but when it can come with a car, suddenly it seems quite practical. The all-new 2025 Volkswagen Tiguan, packed with premium features like available massaging front seats, it only feels extravagant.
Here's a swing and a drive to deep right by Hilliard. Way back, going, and long gone into the second deck. To the left of the bullpen. What a shot off the bat of Sam Hilliard. Lands that one in section 239. The 4th home run of the inning for the Rockies. Second of the year for Hilliard, his 3rd RBI. They go back-to-back for the second time in the inning. 6 runs home. It's the Rockies 9 and the Nationals 1.
I don't know to what extent you were hearing what's going on around you in those moments as you go to take the ball from them, but there was a lot of booing in the crowd. It's a 10th straight loss. How do you process that?
Well, I don't. I mean, I really, honestly, for me, it's, I try to look at the positive. House, I had a good day at the plate. Laos won bat well. Josh Bell won bat well. Young, man, staying on the ball better today. What I look at is this team doesn't quit. It's late. We have life at the end. They don't give in. We had good at bats. For me, now we got to take those at bats to the early part of the game. That's going to be the key. I mean, we got to come out and from the get-go, get the ball up in the zone and really get good at bats. Believe me, it stinks, man. Nobody wants to lose 10 in a row. No way. I mean, I don't. I know I don't. I know those guys don't. But we're not going to quit. We're going to keep fighting. I mean, that's who we are, and I don't quit, and I'm not going to quit on those guys. So we got to keep fighting every day.
And welcome to Nats Chat, along with MASNsports.com Nationals insider Mark Zuckerman, who is at Nationals Park. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. This Friday, June 20th, is the first official day of summer. But could it be that before we get the change in season, we get major change with the Nats? The thinking had been that such change, if it happens, was more likely to happen after this Nats season ended, but things now have gotten so bad to where nothing should be dismissed. Total humiliation for the Nats on Tuesday evening. A 10-6 loss to the MLB worst Colorado Rockies at Nationals Park in Game 2 of a 4-game series. Do not get fooled by that final score. The Nats scored 5 runs over the final 2 innings to trim a 10-1 deficit to 10-6. This was a game in which the Nats allowed 6 runs in the top of the 7th. This was a game in which the Nats got out-homered 7-2. The Nats now have lost 10 consecutive games. The Nats, yet again, are at a new low point in MLB's 2025 regular season. 13 games below 500, 30-43 with a run differential of -69. The Nats now are 0-5 on this 7-game homestand against the National League East worst Miami Marlins and MLB worst Colorado Rockies, who in this regular season now are a mere 16-57. You are angry. We hear your pain. Keep the feedback coming. You can find us on X at Nats_chat. You can find us on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. You can email the show, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. Coming up later in the show, an update on the Nats AAA affiliate, the Rochester Red Wings, from the voice of the Red Wings, Josh Whetzel. But things with the parent club are not getting better. They are getting worse. And it was impossible to ignore the boos at Nationals Park on Tuesday evening. The boos at Nationals Park on Tuesday evening were as loud as they have been this season. Mark, you, during Nats manager Davey Martinez's postgame press conference, asked him about the boos. Like I said, who knows if major change is coming, but I tell you, man, this is the kind of circumstance in which major change does tend to happen. Of that, there is no doubt.
If you were looking for a reason, if I'm ownership or Mike Rizzo and I'm looking for a reason to make some kind of bold change, the events of the top of the 7th in this game certainly give you the justification for that. It was as ugly as it will ever get. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. 5 home runs given up in a span of 8 batters. That includes the first batter at the top of the 8th as well. Just a stunning implosion from a bullpen that we know knows how to do implosions, and yet they still found a way to do something I don't think I've ever seen them do in this one. And you're right. You couldn't help but hear the boos as each of those balls landed over the fence, and as Davey Martinez walked out to the mound to take the ball from Cole Henry, and as Henry walked off the field, there's plenty of frustration being shown from fans in the stands, and they have every right to do that given what they were watching. And in that moment, I, like a lot of people, are thinking to myself, is this it? Is this what finally spurs something to happen that we've been speculating about here for a while? And then they did what they so often have done over the years here with Davey Martinez as manager, and the boys battled. And no, it wasn't nearly enough, and it was way too late, and it doesn't impact the final outcome at all. But the fact that they did that, to me, kind of underscores the whole idea of why Davey Martinez has held this job now into his 8th season. Because in spite of everything else that may be going on, his teams consistently play hard for him right down to the end. And they did that in the 9th inning of this game. And that's created this dichotomy out there. They looked awful up to that point. They looked lifeless up to that point. And yet they actually went down with a fight. And if you needed a justification to not do anything, if you wanted to point to something and say, this team still plays hard, well, there it was for you. So I don't know what this leads to on Wednesday. Nothing happened in the immediate aftermath on Tuesday night. Could something happen Wednesday? Sure. There's plenty of justification to do something to shake things up, because 10 games lost in a row is not acceptable for anyone. But that one rally, it does put a little different taste in your mouth. And it reminds you of what this team has consistently shown they will do for its manager in spite of anything else that's going on around it.
The problem, of course, with the rally, and I know you know this, is that the Rockies are atrocious. Their bullpen is atrocious. And so you almost have to put an asterisk regarding what the Nats did in that bottom of the 9th inning. It was nice, some guys fattened up their stats, but the Rockies are putrid, and what's happening in this series does not change that to any degree. It's a funny thing to me with what's happening right now, because there is so much discussion about Davey Martinez, and of course everyone is caught up in the 10-game losing streak, but I cannot help get away from the bigger picture here. And that to me is what matters more than whether Davey Martinez gets fired, or when this losing streak ends, or even what the Nats record is at this point. And that is that the rebuild isn't working. And I brought this up a few episodes ago. And I know that you're more apt to address something like that at the end of the season, and that's fine. But to me, what is truly frightening right now is that the rebuild is a failure. And we understand that the perception of this thing can change. But that to me matters so much more, the state of the rebuild, than the tenure of the manager or when this losing streak ends. The fact that everything that this franchise has been about for years now, this rebuild, is falling on its face. It's flopping. This is year 5 of the rebuild. The team is 13 games below 500. The run differential is really bad at -69. The team is mired in a 10-game losing streak. What more do you need to see to think that the rebuild isn't working? And that to me is the thing right now. And that to me is what is most concerning right now, that the state of everything, all of baseball operations, is what needs to be called into question. You want to fire Davey Martinez? Go ahead and fire him. But that doesn't change the concern, the fear, the worry that these players just aren't very good, and that the drafting and player development just have not improved, and that ownership just is not spending, and that things aren't going to be getting better anytime soon. And that to me is the real pain of what's going on right now.
Well, and I think the important point there is, and it often happens that the manager takes the fall when things like this happen. Sometimes it's their fault, sometimes it's not. But when you make that move in season, you're scapegoating someone, yes. You're also trying to suggest that you think that somebody else, a new voice, can come in and get more out of their team, and hoping that that makes a difference. Do you believe that that would happen here? Would Miguel Cairo, their bench coach, if he took over as interim manager, would they suddenly start playing better for him, or if they brought somebody else in just to finish out the season. I have a hard time believing that it would do that much other than maybe serve as a jolt to the clubhouse that says, oh, well, boy, it really is on us. Now we just cost somebody their job. And that applies to a change of a hitting coach or a pitching coach or a third base coach or any other move that they might, ultimately decide to make. So you're right in that it's not just about making a switch at a position in the middle of a season that may or may not make much difference in the outcome. This isn't a team that is likely to turn it all around and suddenly get into a pennant race when it's all said and done with a new voice leading the way in the dugout. I don't believe that's who they are, or that's the kind of position that they're going to be in. And so that's why, among other reasons, I felt like all along it was unlikely that they would fire Martinez mid-season. 10-game losing streak, though, suggests that something has to be done in one way or another. And I think what we really have to be looking at is when it's all said and done at the end of the year, whatever the win-loss total is, this had to be a step forward year for them. We both agreed that coming in. This had to be a step forward season where you said they have made real progress. It's showing up in the talent that they have, but it's also showing up in the one-loss record. 73 games in, they're not there. They're nowhere close to there. And that is extremely troubling. Could it get there? Maybe. But they've also now dug themselves into such a hole that it's going to take a pretty significant turnaround and effort for them to get to where we would think they needed to be at the end of this season. And so that's tremendously discouraging. And it's why whatever they do in the next 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever it may be, there's a larger issue that has to be addressed, whether it's in season or at the end of the season, about where this franchise is going. And that comes from the top. What is ownership going to do about it? Comes from the GM spot, the manager, everybody. You can try to do things in season, and maybe they would. But that to me is, at the end of the year, you look at this and say, where are we? Right now, they're not where they need to be. And they may not get there because they've dug themselves into such a hole that it's going to be really hard to get out of it.
The managing and the coaching may well be subpar, but the players themselves may well be subpar. And the person picking the players, the president of baseball operations and general manager Mike Rizzo, perhaps needs to go. And that's the thing. It may be time to fire Mike Rizzo. And of course, it all starts at the top. And it may be that nothing truly changes until the ownership changes. And who knows if/when that is going to happen. And these are the sobering thoughts. Again, you want to fire Davey Martinez, go ahead and do that. But there are other bigger issues with this club right now. And that, to me, is what is as concerning as anything with this team. Hey, Al Galdi here for Window Nation. July 4th weekend is around the corner, and for many people, that means that summer vacation is coming up. Will your windows keep your home protected while you're away? Save yourself the headache of coming home to a potential break-in by replacing your windows today with Window Nation windows. Right now, when you buy 4 windows, you get 4 windows free, plus you get a free exterior door when you purchase a house full of windows. And on top of that, you won't have to put any money down, pay any interest, or deal with any monthly payments for 24 months. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com and tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast. In this economy, what Window Nation is offering right now is a great deal. Your electricity bill is another good indicator of how well your windows are working, especially with summer temperatures here to stay. Lucky for you, Window Nation offers top quality, energy efficient vinyl windows built to withstand the sun's heat and keep your home cool. And did I mention that Window Nation windows come with a lifetime warranty? Don't miss your chance to protect and upgrade your home with Window Nation windows. Buy 4 windows, get 4 windows free now through June 30th. And remember, you won't pay a thing for 24 months. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com. That's 866-90-NATION or windownation.com. And tell Window Nation that you want the deal that you heard about from Al Galdi on the Nats Chat podcast.
Tim Shover's here to tell you about Babbel. Did you know that the Nats are on the Spanish radio airwaves for the 2nd consecutive season? If you want to know what Luciano and Gustavo are saying on the broadcast on calls such as this one, then check out Babbel. And here's their special offer for Nats Chat listeners. 60% off subscriptions at babbel.com/natschat. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/natschat. That's spelled BABBEL.com/natschat. Babbel.com/natschat. Rules and restrictions may apply.
All right, fellas. I need you to stop what you're doing and go download Prize Picks if you haven't already. Because once you download Prize Picks and use code BACKYARD, you get $50 on us once you place the first $5 lineup. And in that lineup, the reason I love it so much, because all you have to do is place more or less on whatever player you want to rock with that night. And you can do it for as many players or as little players as you like. And it doesn't matter if I'm watching basketball, hockey, golf, baseball, esports, doesn't matter. I can put them all in my lineup. The reason I like firing on Prize Picks so much during the summer is because I travel all the time, and Prize Picks is available in more than 28 states, including California, which I love summers in California. So I can fire on Prize Picks with all my friends and swear out the games with them. And it doesn't matter what we're watching, we always get to enjoy the game a little bit more. And lastly, fellas, there's also a special going on during basketball playoffs. Every time you do a $5 3-pick basketball flex play during the playoffs, you automatically get entered in the Prize Picks sweepstakes for courtside tickets to the finals. So download the app today and use code BACKYARD to get $50 instantly after you play the first $5 lineup. That's code BACKYARD to get $50 instantly after you play the first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Swing by Tolio to drive to deep right, sending Lyle back, way back, warning track, and hits the top of the fence and goes over into the Nationals bullpen. Michael Tolio has hit his second home run of the night. His 8th home run of the year. His second career multi-home run game. That gives him 24 runs batted in for the year, 5 runs home in the inning. It's now the Rockies 8 and the Nationals 1.
So we talked about what happened in that top of the 7th inning. I mean, this really was incredible. This was a competitive game until it wasn't. 4 Nats relievers in this game combined to allow 7 runs in 3 innings as the Nats bullpen had yet another horrendous game this season. You know, we've talked about the bullpen being better, and I guess it has been better over the last month, but there still are way too many games like this one where the bullpen just gets rocked, and the bullpen in this game got rocked. Cole Henry, you know, this hurt because Cole Henry has been a bright spot. Cole Henry was awful. He allowed 4 runs without recording it out. He had what ended up being that 6-run 7th was a disaster. He issued a leadoff 4-pitch walk of Mickey Moniak, then issued a full count hit by pitch of Tyler Freeman, despite him having been down at 1.12. Then gave up a first pitch 3-run homer by Hunter Goodman, who was killing the Nats in this series. So that homer to left field for a 6-1 Rockies lead. And then Henry gave up a full count solo homer by Ryan McMahon to right field for a 7-1 Rockies lead, despite McMahon having been down in the count at 1.02. Jackson Rutledge then came into the game. He allowed 2 runs in 1 inning. He, in that top of the 7th, allowed back-to-back 2-out solo homers to give the Rockies a 9-1 lead. Eduardo Salazar allowed 1 run in 1 inning. He, in the top of the 8th, gave up a leadoff homer. So Henry, Rutledge, and Salazar combined to give up 5 home runs in this game. Zach Brixey was good, so hey, there was that perfect top of the 9th with 2 swinging strikeouts. But man, the one thing that Nats relievers had not had a problem with this year, and we've talked about this, is the home run. And in this game, it's like it all caught up to them with Henry, Rutledge, and Salazar combining to give up the 5 bombs.
As I said, 5 homers in a span of 8 batters. I don't think I've ever seen that before at any level of baseball, let alone in a situation like this. It was staggering to see that happen. And the Rockies totaled 10 hits in this game. 7 of the hits were home runs. That is mind-boggling to even fathom from a team, as we know, that is historically awful. And by the way, isn't even playing at Coors Field. This is in D.C. that this game is being played. With Henry, he talked about trying to be too perfect with these pitches. And I think it's maybe a microcosm of what's going on with everyone right now. They all know the situation. They know how desperate this team is to win. And anytime one of them either comes up to bat or takes the mound with a chance to try to help put him in a position to win a game, they are trying way too hard to make it happen. and he ends up making a mistake, as so many others do as well. And he talked about also how this is a guy who's been a starter coming up through the minor leagues, learning how to become a reliever now at the big league level. And as he said, when you're a starter, you have some time to work things out over the course of several innings. As a reliever, you got to figure it out right away when something isn't right. And he couldn't figure it out. And that's something that he understands he's going to have to learn and learn in a hurry. He's been great in the bigger picture. This was awful. He knows it. Rutledge, to then follow him up with that, was awful. Salazar has been really bad for the most part in both of his stints up here this year. It's ugly. Yeah, you wish they had done more offensively so that, you weren't in a position where you're asking the bullpen to keep a deficit at 2 at that point. But man, oh man, that sucked any life that was remaining out of the park. And that's when the boos were coming down, and rightfully so when you see that kind of performance.
Absolutely. And when you see a guy like Henry, who had been so good, be that bad, man, it's hard to unsee that bad. It's like you're dating someone and things are going so well, and then there's this really ugly blow up, and you're like, I can't unsee that. I can't make myself forget that. That was really rough what happened with Cole Henry in this game. So the Nats bullpen in this game gave up 5 homers, and the Nats starting pitcher in this game gave up 2 homers, though he was far from the Nats' biggest problem in this game. But Michael Soroka, 3 runs in 6 innings with 9 strikeouts. He gave up 5 hits, which were 2 homers, a double, and 2 singles. He issued 2 walks, and brace yourself for this, 3 hit by pitches. Soroka threw 93 pitches, 58 strikes versus 35 balls. So Soroka in the top of the second gave up a 1-out opposite field solo homer by Tyro Estrada to right center field to tie the game at 1. And Soroka in the top of the fourth gave up a 2-out first pitch, a 2-run homer by Michael Toglia to right center field for a 3-1 Rockies lead. This start actually in a lot of ways is a good microcosm of the season that Soroka is having. He gives up runs, but his peripherals are good. Soroka for this regular season now 9 starts. The ERA is at 5.06, nowhere near good enough, but the whip is only 1.13. The strikeouts per 9 innings is at a very nice 9.19. This is what Soroka has been for this team, and he certainly was not bad in this game, but the home run ultimately is what doomed him. He only gave up 5 hits, but 2 of them homers, and 3 runs in 6 innings ended up not being good enough.
It's really the home run that's the Achilles heel for him now this year. That's 10 of them allowed in, I believe, 48 innings pitched. And the stuff is good. He gets swings and misses, a lot of strikeouts, but he seems to perpetually be done in by 1 or 2 mistakes. And they're usually bad mistakes that lead to a lot of damage, as you saw in this case. Now, I did like the fact that he got into a jam in the 6th and he got himself out of it. So that's maybe something to cling to say that he ended the night on a positive note. But he's got to find a way to keep the ball in the yard. He's giving up almost 2 home runs per 9 innings this season, which is almost twice his career rate. So this has not really been an issue for him in the past. If he can clean that up, there's a lot to like there, and you see the potential for sure. But it's hard to ignore the bottom line. And the bottom line is he's still giving up 3-4 runs a start, usually because of 1 or 2 big swings.
Yeah, you look at Soroka, 9 starts, 48 innings, 10 home runs allowed. Just to put that into perspective, Mackenzie Gore, 15 starts, 87 and a third innings, 10 home runs allowed. Gore has not far from double the innings of Soroka, and each guy has allowed the same amount of home runs.
Life as a small business owner, everything is your problem, and there aren't enough hours in the day. That's where LinkedIn Jobs, and by proxy Nats Chat, are here to help. For those crucial hires that you absolutely can't whiff on, turn to LinkedIn Jobs. Simply post your job, and LinkedIn will take it from there, making sure it gets in front of the properly qualified candidates who are searching themselves. Find out why more than 2.5 million small business owners have turned to LinkedIn Jobs to grow their staff. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/natschat. That's linkedin.com/natschat to post your jobs for free. linkedin.com/natschat. Terms and conditions apply.
When it comes to delivering flowers for life's special occasions, trust the name that's been setting the standard for nearly 50 years. 1-800-Flowers.com. From breathtaking bouquets to one-of-a-kind arrangements, 1-800-Flowers is your authority on quality blooms. Always fresh, always stunning, always delivered with care. And right now, for a limited time, you can save up to 40% off your bouquet and make someone's day. Save up to 40% off today at 1-800-Flowers.com/SXM. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/SXM.
Two balls and a strike. They pitch on the way. House lines a base hit into center field. Lowe's coming around third. He's going to score. It's the first Major League RBI for Brady House. It's now 10-6 Rockies, a two-hit game, and an RBI for the rookie third baseman House.
So the Nats offense in this 10-6 loss to the Rockies on Tuesday evening ended up being good, but so much of the production came in what you call garbage time. The Nats totaled 6 runs, 12 hits, and 4 walks, went 3 for 12 with runners in scoring position. The 12 hits were 2 home runs, 3 doubles, and 7 singles. All of that sounds pretty good, but 5 of the 6 runs and 7 of the 12 hits came over the final 2 innings. Again, this was a 10-1 ball game. The Nats put up 5 runs over the final 2 innings to cut that deficit to 10-6. Brady House, he is the Nats starting third baseman and number 5 batter, went 2 for 4 with an RBI single, another single, and a walk. Nathaniel Lowe, he is the Nats starting first baseman and cleanup batter, went 2 for 5 with a solo homer and a double. Luis Garcia Jr., he is the Nats starting second baseman and number 3 batter, went 1 for 5 with a 2-run homer. CJ Abrams, he is the Nats starting shortstop and number 1 batter. Abrams back in that number 1 spot, 2 for 4 with an RBI single, another single, a walk, and a stolen base. James Wood, he is the Nats starting left fielder and number 2 batter, 0 for 3 with 2 walks. So some good stuff, but I don't know. It's hard to really get enthused about this stuff because of when so much of the stuff ended up happening in this game.
Yeah, and this has been a recurring theme, as we know. They do not score early, or if they do, on the occasions they do it early and they take a guy out. But if they don't, they can't get it done, and they seem to wait until the very last minute to try to make something happen. Let's be clear about who they're facing in this game. Antonio Senzatella, if you look at his starts against anybody other than the Nationals this season, he is 0-10 with an 8.10 ERA and a whip of 2.117. That is probably the worst starting pitcher in the big leagues right now. Oh, but he's made 2 starts against the Nationals. And how was he done in those 2 starts? He's 2-0 with an 0.82 ERA and a 1.182 whip. There's just no excuse for that. There is no way that he has somehow figured out how to be a great pitcher the 2 times he's faced the Nationals and can't do it against anybody else. Clearly, whatever he did to them at Coors Field in April, he stuck with the plan. He got them swinging. He got them chasing. He didn't strike anybody out. He just induced a lot of weak contact. It's a broken record. This keeps happening over and over again. And yeah, the late offense is great, but it should never have to come to that. They have to find a way to take the approach they have late in the game when they're already out of it and maybe finally start relaxing. They've got to find a way to take that approach early in the game, figure out a starting pitcher, make adjustments along the way. And that's why if they were to make some kind of coaching change beyond a managerial change, it does feel like the hitting coach would be first in line, because you do see the repeated pattern here of how this is going. Now, is that going to make a difference? I don't know if it would or not. But if you're going to scapegoat someone, if you're going to put the blame on somebody other than the players themselves, that to me is what stands out, because we've seen way too much of this, where against competition that is not elite, they are not putting together good at bats and showing no signs of adjustments. And by the time they finally figure it out late, it's way too late.
Yeah. And again, it comes back to that question of coaching bad, perhaps, but maybe players bad. Maybe players just aren't good enough. And that is, I think, the biggest concern right now, that this rebuild is flopping. So we have Game 3 of this 4-game series Wednesday evening at 6:45. Mitchell Parker will be the Nats starting pitcher. We shall see what, if anything, might be different with the Nats come that first pitch. When it comes to booing at Nationals Park, when is the last time you heard booing like we heard on Tuesday evening?
There have been a handful of games, I would probably think, during the rebuild when it was going bad, that, especially a bad pitching performance or bad, bullpen kind of meltdown where you will hear it. And let's be clear, there's only 17,000 at this game, so it's not really vociferous. But it doesn't happen a lot. And I think you and I both know that this is not a fan base that would compare itself to, nor would it want to compare itself to, fans of, say, the Phillies or the Mets or the Red Sox or some other teams like that. So it's generally a pretty supportive fan base. So booing is not common around here. But what we saw there and heard in the 7th inning was kind of the perfect encapsulation of it, where it all came together in spectacularly awful fashion with barrage of home runs, a team en route to its 10th straight loss against really bad competition. And as you said, in the bigger picture, the rebuild not looking so great at the moment. So I think it was understandable and probably warranted in a lot of cases. But it doesn't happen a lot, that's for sure. And you can't help but think that anybody wearing a Nationals uniform or anybody working for the Nationals had to have heard it. It's impossible not to hear that kind of thing as it's happening. And you wonder what goes on through their minds as that's going on and what they now intend to do about it.
Do you know, was Mark Lerner at this game on Tuesday evening?
Not that I know of. I have not seen him in quite a while at the ballpark. He certainly has not been seen in his front row seats hardly at all this year. There have been times in the past where he was a regular presence there. That doesn't mean he's not necessarily there. Sometimes he and family members will sit in a suite, so I haven't seen that. But I have not actually personally seen Mark Lerner here in quite some time this season. I've seen a couple other members of ownership recently, but certainly not as visible as we've seen in the past. And as we've discussed, Mike Rizzo, while here, of course, almost all the time, unless he's off scouting, in advance of the draft, has kept himself pretty much out of the spotlight as well, something that's become more and more common here over the years.
Mike Rizzo has not done a single session with reporters since this Nats regular season started. He is due to be on the Sports Junkies on 106.7 The Fan on Wednesday morning. Will be interesting to hear what, if anything, of note Rizzo has to say then. But in terms of taking questions from people like Mark, Rizzo has yet to do that in on-the-record fashion since this regular season started. You tell us what you think. Hit us up on X at Nats_chat. Hit us up on Blue Sky at Nats Chat Podcast. Email us natschatpodcast@gmail.com. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. For Mark Zuckerman, I'm Al Galdi. We thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat Podcast, and we'll leave you now with the latest on the Nats AAA affiliate, the Rochester Red Wings, from the voice of the Red Wings, Josh Whetzel.
1-1 to Millas. Fastball grounded inside third up the left field line. Morales around third. He'll score the tying run. Millas scrambles to second, goes in standing with a game-tying RBI double. It is 3-3.
Well, Tuesday night, the Red Wings snapped a 12-game losing streak, knocking off the first-place team in the International League, Lehigh Valley, 3-1. And the Wings pitchers really did well, retiring the final 15 Iron Pigs hitters they faced. Andrew Alvarez got a no decision in the game, but pitched 5 solid innings, allowing 1 run. The left-hander out of Cal Poly San Luis Obispo has worked at least 5 innings now in 10 of his 14 starts this season. Yohan Adon earned the win in that game on Tuesday night with 2 perfect innings in which he struck out 5, his best appearance of the season. Adon now 1-2 with a 4.64 ERA on the year. A Cade Cavalli update, 8 starts now for Cavalli, a 2-1 record and a 4.22 ERA for the Red Wings. He's pitched 32 innings, allowing 28 hits, has 36 strikeouts, only 15 walks in those 8 starts, and 4 of those walks came in the first inning of his last start against the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. Wings could have a new closer now. Michael Cuevas has been promoted from AA Harrisburg. Cuevas had been pitching very well for the Senators, going 2-1 with 8 saves and a 2.80 ERA in his first year as a relief pitcher. And on the offensive front, Nasim Nuñez has gone 4 for 17 for the Red Wings in the 5 games that he's played since getting sent down from the Nationals. Drew Millas has been swinging the bat well with a 286 batting average, 3 doubles and a home run over his last 10 games. He's also been catching very well for the Red Wings. And Darren Baker's really rounded back into form after a tough first month of the season. In 33 games for the Red Wings since May 1st, Baker is hitting .311. This is Josh Whetzel with this Rochester Red Wings update.
0-2 on Schnell. Rangel deals, and Schnell lifts it in the air to left. It's going to chase Kroon back towards the track at the wall, and it's gone. Ball just kept on carrying for Nick Schnell, and he breaks the deadlock here in the 7th on a solo homer. For Schnell, it's his 4th with the Red Wings.
Comcast is committed to bringing access to the internet to all Americans, including rural communities across the country, like Sussex County, Delaware.
We were being left behind. Everybody around us seemed to have internet, but we did not. High-speed internet is one of those good things that we needed to help us move our farming, our small businesses, our recreation forward.
Learn more about how we're bringing our next-generation network to more people across the country at ComcastCorporation.com/investment in America.